that ironic as well.
You know, I looked at, and I guess I contrast with many critics is that they didn't like the president using kids as this. First of all, the kids were there and their parents let them be there. In fact, a lot of their parents were in the audience there. So the parents allowed it. And there is something to be said if you're going to argue for getting a control on violence to showcase kids, because this is really about keeping them safe. So I won't quibble with that as much as I will say that it would be very effective for the president to say we owe it to kids as well in another speech to look out for their future. You could go ahead and say to Republicans, you want to rein in defense or control the growth of defense too. I don't care what your purpose is. But if you're going to mention kids, you have to remind them they are our future. And right now, to your point, Charlie, they're going to be stuck paying some very, very big bills. But again, it's one thing to try to convince people of your age, Charlie, of that, quite another to even get the message across to just innocent little kids. But that is going to be a paramount issue because, as Steve pointed out, it's going to address kids still unborn. That at the rate we're going, how do you tell people, Charlie, that for generations yet to come, none of this is sustainable, the rate we're going?
Well, I think it's important to frame the argument in terms of morality. The president mentioned morality in the past couple of weeks, that it's the moral thing to do to get more gun control. But is it moral to spend your children's money before they've ever had a chance to vote? Is it moral to spend Social Security trust fund as if no money even exists? We need to frame it more of a moral pretext instead of just a mathematic one. And I think young people might be able to relate to that. They want the humane thing to happen. Young people tend to be more liberal because they think it's the moral thing. They think government can play the big brother role to make all the inequalities disappear. And if we form it, the argument in a moral text, we can really gain a lot of ground with young people.
And let's put a number on this, Neil. I mean, let's put some numbers on this. If you're talking about, again, a child that's just born, or children that might be born 10 years from now or 20 years from now, they're talking about when they become workers and productive adults, they're talking about essentially a second mortgage of anywhere between $250,000 and $400,000 as they start their life, just because of the national debt. We don't know how big the national debt is going to rise over the next 10 years, but we know these numbers are going to be quite gigantic.
I'm just wondering, Steve, though, if that message gets across, if politicians deliberately make you think you could do all of this and solve a lot of our fiscal ills just raising taxes. And who is to blame kids if they think, well, I'm okay, I needn't worry?
You know, Neil, I think the problem is deeper than that. The problem is simply this. The young people are going to pay these bills, as I just said before. Guess what? They don't vote. They're not voting on Head Start. They're not voting on the war in Iraq. They're not voting on any of this stuff. Who votes in America today, Neil? Senior citizens do. It's not any kind of mystery why we can't cut programs like Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security. The people who get the benefits are the ones who go out the polls and vote, and that really is a problem. If we want to get people like in Charlie's generation their voice heard, they better get out there and vote for these policies and protect their own financial interest.
But Charlie, you were telling me something interesting last time you were here, that in their heart of hearts, a lot of young people you talk to aren't really that optimistic they're going to see Social Security or Medicare, are they?
Not really. And you asked them, a classroom that I went to, I asked them how many do you think are going to receive Social Security and Medicare, and it was kind of a dim look. And I think it's because overall they might like President Obama, but they have a general distrust in government. And that's an interesting dynamic because they think President Obama is still going to be that transcendent figure to fix it. And they still think that Washington is broken, but somehow President Obama in his second term will do something different. And the math does not lie, as Mr. Moore pointed out. Each kid is going to be handed hundreds of thousands of dollars to pay off. What if they buy a house? Well, they still have to pay off their national debt mortgage. It's immoral and it's impractical. And if we do not do our work as free marketeers or as free thinkers to educate the young people, not just the young people, but their parents about the bill they're going to inherit, we're not going to be able to cut the deficit or the debt at all.
Well put. The Mr. Moore stuff I could do without, but it was very well put. Guys, I want to thank you all very much.